You know the name Alexei Navalny is because the West has turned him into this mythological figure. There was a documentary made about him. It won the Academy Award for Best Documentary in 2022. All of Hollywood stood and cheered for this documentary about the hero Navalny. In Russia, he's a minuscule figure. He's not some giant of the Russian political stage. He is useful to the West for propagandistic purposes, and that is why you have this incredibly inflated imagery of what he is. Here's Reuters on February 21st of 2018. Putin nemesis Navalny, barred from the election, tries political siege.
What you just saw was a snippet of the latest piece from Glenn Greenwald. We'll be showing the full clip later in the video, so be sure to stay with us until the very end for the entire segment. But before that, we'd love to share our perspectives with you. Don't forget to click the like button, hit subscribe for more content like this, and drop your thoughts in the comments section below. We're excited to join the conversation, and will definitely reply to your comments. Alexei Navalny is often painted as a folk hero in the West, a brave dissident standing up to the might of Putin's Russia. His story has been crafted into a narrative that serves the interests of Western geopolitical ambitions. The Academy Award-winning documentary in 2022 is evidence of how Hollywood and Western media have turned Navalny into a larger-than-life figure, echoing this sentiment with rapturous applause. This is pure myth-making. In Russia, Navalny might be a known political figure, but he is hardly the colossal force that the Western portrayal suggests. His prominence is greatly exaggerated to suit a narrative that is becoming increasingly common as tensions between the West and Russia continue to escalate. This narrative serves a dual purpose, to vilify Putin's Russia and offer an alternative hero in the form of Navalny. But, portray him as they might, Navalny's actual influence within Russia is limited, his following marginal compared to the populist support enjoyed by Trump in the United States. Consider the double standards at play. Navalny's barring from political participation and his subsequent imprisonment are heralded in the West as incontrovertible proof of Russian authoritarianism. Yet, when parallels emerge in the United States, with Trump facing the risk of being barred from the ballot through legal challenges and the threat of prosecution by partisan actors, the narrative suddenly shifts. The same acts, somehow in the US, coat with a veneer of legality and are justified under the guise of justice. Let us not forget that Donald Trump was the President of the United States. He commanded a vast following and continues to lead opinion polls for the presidential race in 2024. Unlike Navalny, Trump wielded significant political power and still holds sway over large segments of the American electorate. Despite this, he faces potential disenfranchisement and legal jeopardy that could bar him from the political arena, U20 actions that, were they happening elsewhere, might provoke cries of political persecution. The blatant hypocrisy is startling. The acts are fundamentally the same, political figures facing legal challenges that may prevent them from participating in their nation U20ans' politics. But when it comes to Trump, a different set of standards is applied. His potential political silencing does not elicit the same indignation as Navalny's. It is clear evidence of the double standards inherent in political discourse, where propaganda and tribalism cloud judgment, transforming similar scenarios into diverse tales. In navigating these complex political narratives, one must recognize the role of bias and propaganda and the motives underpinning the stories we are sold. Regardless of individual views on Trump or Navalny, the critical eye must scrutinize the fairness of political processes and be wary of manufactured figures who are often mere projections of geopolitical agendas.
You know the name Alexei Navalny is because the West has turned him into this mythological figure. There was a documentary made about him. It won the Academy Award for Best Documentary in 2022. All of Hollywood stood and cheered for this documentary about the hero Navalny. In Russia, he's a minuscule figure. He's not some giant of the Russian political stage. He is useful to the West for propagandistic purposes, and that is why you have this incredibly inflated imagery of what he is. Here's Reuters on February 21st of 2018. Putin nemesis Navalny barred from the election, tries political siege. Remember when the proof of Russia's totalitarianism was that the opposition leader was barred from the ballot and then imprisoned? Isn't that a situation similar to what we have in the United States? Isn't it the case that the primary political opponent of the current government in Washington is in the process of being stricken from the ballot as a result of judges and Democratic Party leaders bringing cases to have them struck from the ballot, and is in the process of being criminally prosecuted by Democratic partisan prosecutors like Fani Willis in Georgia and Alvin Bragg in New York and the Obama DOJ? Why is it that when we hear that Russia is banning from the ballot the primary political opponent of Vladimir Putin and then trying to imprison him, we make one conclusion, but then when we hear in the United States that the exact same thing is happening, but an actual significant political figure, not like Navalny, but Donald Trump, who was actually the president already, narrowly lost in 2020, is leading almost every opinion poll up for 2024. When he is struck from ballots, when he is threatened with imprisonment, a completely different narrative about that is presented, even though they're the same acts. And I know a lot of people just intuitively believe this is what propaganda does, this is what tribalism does, is that we just inherently believe that when it seems like the two things are the same, the fact that one is happening in the United States and the other is happening in Russia means they're completely different. Question, though, whether or not that's what you believe because you're an American, because you were born in the United States, because you've been told from childhood that that's how you should see the world. Here is Reuters. Now, this is not RT, this is not Sputnik, this is not Tucker Carlson, whoever you want to dismiss as some sort of pro-Russian source. This is Reuters in 2018, which said the following, quote, opinion polls put Navalny's support at less than 2%. And many Russians who still get much of their news from state TV say they do not even know who he is. He's incredibly more famous and more notable and more popular in Western political capitals than he is in Russia. The idea that he's a threat to Vladimir Putin in any way is laughable. Let's try and remember as well a couple of things about who Alexei Navalny is, the new hero of Western liberals. From Yahoo News in February of this year, actually yesterday, Alexei Navalny's, quote, far-right racist past brought back in spotlight after Putin critics' death. As world leaders pay tribute to Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny, some have drawn attention to some inconvenient aspects of his past. Really, what's inconvenient? Quote, as Western politicians pay their respects, some more uncomfortable aspects of Navalny's career have been brought back to the surface. Quote, Navalny took part in the Russian March, an annual demonstration that draws ultranationalists, including some who adopt swastika-like symbols. Oh my, that is uncomfortable. Quote, he has never apologized for his earlier xenophobic videos or his decision to attend the Russian March. Rahman appeared to be referring to a notorious video from 2007 in which Navalny appears to compare Muslim immigrants in Russia to cockroaches as he advocated for gun ownership. In another video, he is dressed as a dentist and appears to compare migrants in Moscow to tooth cavities, Radio Free Europe reports. He says, quote, I recommend full sanitization. Everything in our way should be carefully but decisively removed through deportation. Shortly before releasing both clips, Navalny was expelled by the liberal Yabloko party over his, quote, nationalist activities, having participated in the Russian March, an annual rally associated with ultranationalist far-right groups chanting slogans such as Russia for ethnic Russians. Now, anyone in the United States who has a past like that, who called immigrants cockroaches, who advocated gun control, as handing out guns as a way to exterminate them, as cockroaches should be exterminated, who attended an actual